Come on, Annie. Let's go to the movies.
This is the Cinereelists, episode 632. My name is Kyle.
My name is James.
And my name is Zach.
And we're here to talk movies, movie lists, and movie obsession for an hour or so. And it's been a while, guys.
It has been a while.
Yeah.
We took last week off.
Yes.
And it's been a while.
Thank you, Chad Krieger. Was that his name?
I don't know. The guy from Stained. Just call him that.
No, oh, that's right. That's not Stained. That's I was thinking, what's the really bad Nickelback? I was thinking Nickelback's lead singer.
It's not Nickelback. It's Stained.
It's not Stained.
Not that Stained is that much better, but
no. But they are on the outside looking in.
You're right. The listeners don't know, but we just got done talking about Fred Durst, which is weird because he has a Stained connection. But anyway,
right. But yeah, last week we were all gone. We were actually all in the Midwest, but not together.
Right.
I'm always in the Midwest, but I was actually in a different portion of the Midwest. But yeah, you guys were there too. So, I mean, how were your Midwest adventures? We haven't really talked since. You missed the Midwest?
Midwest is
misses
awesome.
you.
I'll go first since Zach's is way cooler than what I was doing. But yeah, I went to Milwaukee for the first time in my life to go to my cousin's wedding. My cousin Casey, who is a former guest on this podcast. I think he's been on at least twice. Yeah, and it was fun. It was awesome. It was like a moderately sized wedding, I would say, maybe 100 people, something like that. Is that moderate?
Yeah, I would say that's medium-sized wedding. Yeah,
sure. And it was Star Wars themed because it was literally on May 4th, so that was fun. And his ceremony, I told him it was like the best ceremony ever because it was like it felt like 5 minutes long and set to Star Wars music. And so I was like, this is a great wedding.
Wait, meaning they had Star Wars music at the beginning and end or playing during the ceremony?
Well, like during the moments where they're talking during the ceremony, there was no music. But as the parties walked in and as the married couple walked out, it was Star Wars music.
Gotcha.
So the only music they played during the ceremony was Star Wars music.
Was Imperial March for coming in or is it for the processional out?
No, it was like I think the music at the end of episode 4, like the kind of celebration medal giving music.
Oh yeah,
that was like the leading in.
It's like a reprise of the Luke theme, but it's much more like marchy.
Right, and on the way out was like the main John Williams, big huge swell Star Wars music that everybody knows. Nothing Empire related is what you're insinuating.
No Yoda theme like when the priest came out or
nothing like that.
I don't think I've ever been to a theme wedding.
This one was lightly themed, I would say. They had like a couple signs and then the music there in the moment, but it's not like people were dressed like Star Wars characters or there were any lightsabers going on or anything like that. It was tastefully themed.
But you did send us a picture of the tables, and the tables were like Yavin 4 and Coruscant.
That sign was Star Wars themed, but like at the table, there was like a little card that said the name of the planet, but that was it.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean? Like,
so there weren't like lightsabers lying around or things like that.
No. It was well done for sure. And then all the music that they played at the reception was like Casey's like 4 years younger than me. Which puts him close enough that like all the music I listened to as a teenager, he listened to as well. And so it's all like alternative music and like Du Hast by
Rammstein,
like a bunch of other like just weird stuff that's like not at weddings typically. At least the weddings I go to, they're not playing that. So
I just don't imagine people dancing to Du Hast. Like that's a good song. I like it. I'm just trying to imagine like the environment, unless there's a lot of drinking involved.
There was definitely a lot of drinking, and also like everybody was there for it, I would say.
Okay, that's good.
For sure. Yeah.
Did you get to explore Milwaukee at all?
Not really. Like we went to a mall that was there, which I doubt is like the Milwaukee experience, really.
Yeah.
But no, we basically flew in on Friday, did the wedding on Saturday, flew out Sunday. So
Okay.
Can't say that I have a real strong opinion on Milwaukee because I don't think I would have given it a fair shake. Other
Sure.
than that, so
It's a cool town though.
It's a cool city. Yeah.
yeah, seemed cool. The parts I saw, the airport's cool. Spent a lot of time there.
It's international.
I have spent a lot of
International
time at that airport as well.
Yeah.
Sure, but yeah, it was a good time. What'd you get up to, Zach?
I was in Toledo with my family.
Sure.
Second time in a year?
No, I went in October last year. So second time in a rolling 12 months.
In a calendar year. Or
Sure.
not a calendar year. 12-month year. Yes.
Yes, I was in Toledo with my family. Last time I went without them. This time I had to bring them to experience Toledo for themselves.
Sure.
And they had a fantastic time. Julie was Toledo hesitant, I would say, going into it.
I'm sure most people are Toledo hesitant when you sell them.
Yeah, I think that's everyone's natural reaction when I talk so positively about Toledo, Ohio. She was, Toledo skeptical.
Mhm.
But what was really fun is being on this trip, and we went to the library, to the kids section of the library, and then afterwards she's like, "That was the coolest library I've ever been to." And then we went to the art museum, not even the art museum proper, but the kids family center in the basement, which I hadn't been to before. And then while we're there, she's like, "This is the coolest kids art center area I've ever seen." And she had that moment over and over during our time there. And I was like, sweet. And now she's sold. The kids were saying, "When can we come back?" And she's like, "Maybe in the fall." And I was like, sweet. That's
well,
awesome.
I mean, you're like a dignitary in Toledo now.
I am now officially a key holder.
Yeah.
Sure.
You have a key to the city.
Key to the city of Toledo.
Correct,
Yeah, we
yes.
met with the mayor, and he gave me the key to the city. Do you guys want to see it?
Yeah.
Sure.
I've got it right next to me.
What door does it unlock? That's what I want to know.
Everything.
That's an enormous key.
Yeah, let me see. Yeah.
Okay.
It's made out
there
of
you go.
glass.
Wow.
Because obviously Toledo is the glass city. But,
Obviously. Well, I knew
isn't
that.
that cool?
Kyle, you knew that too, right?
Yeah, everyone
is
knows
the
Toledo,
glass
the
city.
glass city. What, Zach?
It's Libby-
read the
Libby glass.
inscription. Read the inscription underneath it. I think the inscription is great.
Key to the city of,
wait, but by Glass City, what does that even mean?
every city has a nickname, like the Big Apple, the Sunshine State. They're the glass city. It's because a lot of the glass manufacturing in the country is out of Toledo, Ohio.
Huh.
Uh-huh.
So Libby
Okay.
glass. This is made by Libby glass.
Okay.
Yeah, because everyone knows the sands of Toledo,
No,
the dunes.
no. That's essentially why, because
Are there dunes nearby?
no, in the past, well, there's Michigan dunes, but in the past, that whole area was underwater, and
Okay.
and so when it dried up, there was a ton of sand there, and so all the glass manufacturing went to that area because there was so much sand. It was easy to produce glass.
Interesting.
Cool.
Okay, read
So
us
you
this
joke,
inscription.
Oh, it says, "Key to the city of Toledo, presented to me by Mayor Wade Kapsakewicz for being Toledo's #1 fan and enthusiast." Yeah.
That's great.
That's wild.
So it's pretty awesome. We got to go to the baseball stadium, and the kids got to run the bases, and we got a private tour. And they said the next time I go back, if I want to, I can throw the first pitch at a game.
They're going to keep you coming back somehow. Just
I know.
keep giving you things to do every time you
It's
come
great. It's so funny.
Now, baseball. This is minor league or AAA or something.
This
right?
is the
It's
Mud
not-
Hens. Yeah.
The Mud Hens. Okay, yeah. Not
We
league.
went to a hockey
wait.
playoff game.
Mud hens?
The Mud
Hens.
Hens. Yeah.
Yeah.
Like as in chickens?
Yeah.
No,
it's a
it-
type of bird.
I thought it was a guppy. That's
No,
a mud hen.
The Mud
I'm
Hens,
thinking
it's a
of.
type of bird.
Okay.
It's a nickname for a type of bird. Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
You went
Their
to a
old
hockey game?
Their old stadium had all these birds that the players were practically tripping over, called Mud Hens. And so they moved the stadium away, but they kept the name.
I got you.
And the hockey game?
Hockey game. Yeah, it was a playoff game. It was their 19th win in a row. For the Walleye. And we went as guests of the mayor, and they have this tradition in the third period. They hit a giant cowbell. It's like an 10 foot tall cowbell. And my kids got to hit it with the mallet.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. Which is awesome.
Wait, they just
your kids are.
people line up and they hit it, or you have to be special
No,
to
no.
hit it?
Well, one person hits it.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like at the
It's like
start of
ringing
a
the stock
game,
exchange
or
bell.
Well, in the middle of the third period. It's like a thing that, hockey,
Yeah.
they have events and little, rituals that they do?
No, I don't know that, but I'm learning.
Sure.
James,
10 minutes into
sports
the
has
third period.
rituals.
Yeah,
Sure.
they always go to the big cowbell and they ring it.
I go to basketball games. There's no rituals at basketball games.
There's I
Like
think
maybe-
almost
stuff.
all sports have some sort of ritual during
like
between periods
when they're
and
going to
things.
play Who Let the Dogs Out or something, or what? Like
That-
what do they
that
do at
could-
basketball games? They don't.
that
do
could be a
stuff.
ritual. Oh no, I mean like like Badger games, they play like varsity between periods. and
Yeah, the
things
great
like that,
NBA
so-
team, the Badgers.
No, that's college.
I'm saying name one ritual at an NBA game.
Well, I don't go to NBA games, but like I'm just
Exactly.
saying
They don't have
that,
rituals.
No, they might have a kiss cam.
Oh, yeah.
Sure, but they
That's
they
more
don't
of
do
a-
it
a
at the
gimmick
exact
than a
same time.
ritual.
Right.
What about like half court shots for $1 million or something?
They do that occasionally, sure,
Yeah.
but they don't. It's not like
That's
Take
more
me out to the
gimmicks
ball
I'm thinking
game.
of. Yeah.
it's not like Take Me Out to the Ball Game where at every Major League Baseball game they're going to play that. You know what I mean? And they're going to play it at the exact same time of the night. They don't do that in the NBA.
Okay. Like the Red Sox, they sing, I can't remember what period it is, they sing Sweet Caroline. That's like a ritual right there.
Gotcha. I understand what a ritual is. I'm just saying the NBA doesn't
Okay.
have them.
Well, but you're also watching NBA on TV. Like they may not show them to you just because you're not seeing
Yeah,
it on
a lot of
broadcast
those.
Doesn't
Well,
mean you're
then the
not- it's not
Magic doesn't
happening.
have them because I've been to plenty of Magic games and there's no rituals.
Yeah, well, I mean, the Magic are kind of lame. Like they don't really know what
How
they're doing.
dare you?
Who's really a fan of the Magic anyway?
How dare you?
Maybe if they had some rituals, people would care.
So you're going back?
Oh yeah, for sure. I love Toledo. It's super fun. So I'll definitely go back.
Zach, I want to go to Toledo with you now. I want to bring
Let's
the
do it.
family. And I'm like,
Absolutely.
I want the tour. I want the like mayoral treatment though. Like if I'm not feeling special, I don't know I'm there. So I
Well,
want to ring a giant bell. I want to.
I mean, I do have the key now, so I think that gives me a lot of access. And then the city, honestly, it'll win you over. I mean, I don't have to do much. It'll win you over.
Okay, the city speaks for itself.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
since you've been there twice now, other than the mayor, does anybody recognize you as like the guy who loves Toledo or anything? Like, are you
No.
getting a following out there or
No,
anything?
I mean, I
Okay.
no one knows me.
You weren't like featured on local news or anything.
Nobody
No,
knows.
I think
Nobody
I
knows
mean-
you, but like at the baseball game, they didn't introduce you as like a guest of the mayor or anything.
I seriously doubt anyone in Toledo recognizes me.
Okay,
Sure.
but there's no media coverage of you either being there.
I think there was an article. I need to find that.
Yeah, let's
Okay.
make you
There was
Toledo
there was like a
famous.
photographer at the key ceremony.
Okay, yeah, I want to make you. Yeah, let's make you famous.
Let's make you Toledo famous.
Wow. Former winners of the Key of Toledo or recipients of the Key of Toledo,
Mm-hmm.
JFK,
Mm-hmm.
Cary Grant, and Jimmy Stewart.
That's quite.
I was
the
trying to think this
pedigree.
through. Do you think there's been more people who have gotten the key to the city of Toledo, Ohio, or have Super Bowl rings? And I think it might be
kinda
Super Bowl rings.
It kind of sounds like Toledo just gives the key to anyone. So,
But there's the thing, they really don't. It would seem like that.
How many do
Right.
they give out?
This mayor has only given out like 8. And he's a 2-term mayor.
and we know
Wow.
3 more, so it's at least 11.
Why? No offense, but how are you one of 8?
James, I'm a
That's
very important person. in
mind
Toledo,
blowing
Ohio.
to me.
JFK, Jimmy Stewart, Zach Sweet.
Yeah,
Like
I
you
mean,
can now include your name in the same breath as them.
if the current sitting mayor has only given out 8, I'm gonna guess Super Bowl rings are more common.
Right. Because that's like 50 people a year right there, at
Right.
least.
Yeah.
So anyway,
Hmm.
super fun. Had a great time. Definitely going back. Our round trip tickets were like $50 each. So
Wow.
it
That's
was
amazing.
definitely worth
And
it.
were you the only people on the plane? Like, wow, there's
Oh,
people
no,
on this
full
plane. in
plane.
Toledo?
Full
Okay,
plane.
Okay. And they were transferring to where exactly?
Toledo. It was great. It's great town.
All right. Good stuff. Good stuff. This week on the podcast.
Where was Kyle?
Oh, I don't know. Nobody cares.
No, I was
No,
in
tell
Minneapolis
us,
visiting my
Kyle.
brother.
What were you doing?
No, I went to Minneapolis. It was my my nephew's 3-year-old birthday party.
Nice.
So visiting my family up there, and yeah,
Sweet.
it's fun. Went to the museum on the history of the mills, the flour mills in Minneapolis,
Okay.
which I've been to last year, but Gail wanted to go back. So
It's a
but
repeat.
It was a repeat, but we brought his cousin there who had never been there, even though they lived there. They'd never been there before, so he got to give her all the hits.
They'd never been to the Flour Mill Museum?
There's a ton of museums in Minneapolis. So yeah, they'd been to the Flour Mill Museum.
Shocking.
So we went to the Flour Mill Museum. It's really cool. You guys should check it out.
I'm into it.
Built in the old gold medal flour factory. Or I should say the burnt husk that was left of it after the fire.
Nice.
Okay. Fall Guy. We're here to talk about a movie.
The Fall Guy.
That the official title is The Fall Guy?
It's The Fall Guy, which I kept calling it Fall Guy also. But it's The Fall Guy. Yeah.
I see that now. Oh, there's a little the.
Right. It's really not prominent, but.
Sure. Was the TV show called The Fall Guy?
I assume so.
Loosely based.
Yes, it was.
On the 1980s. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, we're going to talk Fall Guy, which is a new action movie that's in theaters right now. And we're also going to run down our top 10 movie stunts. So I'm looking forward to that. We're going to get into all that in just a minute. Right after I remind you, there's a video version of this podcast on YouTube. Go check it out there. Search Cinereelists and you'll find us. And you can watch while you listen. You could also support us on Patreon, patreon.com/Cinereelists. Support us on Patreon, get extra after show audio. You could leave us an Apple podcast review, 5 stars only, or send us a listener email to heyguys@cinereelists.com, REEL with an S on the end. Send a comment, a question, a list suggestion, a movie suggestion, any of those kinds of things. We appreciate getting via email, and we will discuss on a future episode of the podcast. You guys ready to jump into The Fall Guy?
Yeah.
Yes.
Let's do it right after this clip.
Why are you here?
I think there's been a misunderstanding.
Clearly.
Because I was under the impression that you did want me here.
That's a delusional thought. We haven't spoken in a year.
I'm happy for you. This whole director thing looks good on you. Even the gardening hat, somehow.
Everyone wears them. It's like a set thing. Okay?
Yeah, I see it. They're not making it look as good as you are, that's all. And I'm not trying to be flat. I'm just saying the facts. But you look good in everything. You look good in nothing, whatever. No, I don't mean it like that.
This
you do look good in nothing.
This isn't going to work.
You do, but it's not what I'm...
That was Fall Guy, a 2024 action comedy film directed by David Leitch, written by Drew Pearce, and loosely based on the 1980s TV series of the same name. This movie stars Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, Aaron Taylor-Johnson, Hannah Waddingham, Teresa Palmer, Stephanie Hugh, Winston Duke, amongst others. And the official IMDb plot synopsis is: a down-and-out stuntman must find the missing star of his ex-girlfriend's blockbuster film. What a nice, succinct plot synopsis that is. Yeah, what did you guys think of The Fall Guy?
I'll start. I really enjoyed this movie. I had a great time with it.
Okay.
For a lot of reasons. One, I thought it was fun, super fun. I think Ryan Gosling is a star. I mean, he's just such a likable, charismatic guy.
Mm-hmm.
The stunts in this movie were really cool, right? But I think the biggest reason that I enjoyed this movie so much was it really is kind of a love letter to filmmaking. Like, it's very like pro the process of filmmaking and like just enjoys that like part of it. And so you just get a ton of like behind the scenes stuff and like the process of it. And it's like, it's not making fun of it or satirizing it necessarily, a little bit with like producing and that kind of thing. But like for the most part, it's just kind of like enjoying it and like throwing it up on screen, even to the point of like the title credits at the beginning, you know, where it says all the main actors and people involved in the movie. It shows them up as if they're like written as part of the script.
Yeah,
you know, it'll show up like little script things. And I never seen that before. And it looked so good. It was like almost perfect. And I just loved that little element of it. And at the end, it has a, during the credits, it had like, behind the scenes footage of the making of the movie kind of a thing in a way that like you just very rarely get anymore. And the whole movie, it just felt like, like a love letter to movie making. And I thought that was super fun.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's definitely a love letter to the production process, like on set shooting.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of the processes not in this movie, but the actual shooting of a movie.
That's what I was referring to as movie making. But
Sure. Absolutely.
I'm waiting for the love letter on like the budget financing.
I need the love letter on the guys behind the computer doing the cloth simulation.
Oh, who are working like 7-hour weeks.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Crunch time for no money.
We want that cloth to be red now, so you guys just go back and do that again. Thank you.
Yeah. But even she talks about that a little bit as the director. She's like, look, I know it'll be easier and cheaper, but it'll be more imperfect if we do it practically. But like, that's what I want. I want it to be a little imperfect. I like that.
And there's something tangible about a stunt, and there's something tangible about it being done. Even if there is safety gear and wires and things, it's still a person or a machine doing something and reacting in the real world versus CG, which you can literally do anything you want and make physics work however you want them to work. I mean, I would overall agree with Zach. I definitely had a good time watching this movie. I'm just going to go more nitpicky now because I think, Zach, you hit all the highs, so I don't want to repeat your highs. So I'm just going to jump into my nitpicks. And my biggest one was this was kind of two movies, and one of them really worked for me, and one of them kind of didn't.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that worked for me was the Ryan Gosling, Emily Blunt, like relationship love story. And that was about the movie making process. And like kind of they were figuring out their relationship through this movie making, which I really liked. I thought they have great chemistry. I like both of them. They have great chemistry with other people. Emily Blunt even like made The Rock charismatic in Jungle Cruise, which is pretty incredible. So kudos to her on that. So like anytime they were going through that portion of the movie, I was all there for it. Like the scene where they have the megaphones and they're like talking to each other about the plot, but it's not the plot.
Mm-hmm.
That was great. Love that. The mystery side of the movie where, he's kind of like ends up in an action movie
the neo
in real life.
Kind of. Yeah.
That felt kind of half baked to me. And every time they jumped into that, I was like, oh, okay, I guess we're doing this stuff again. It had cool stunts, but like I wasn't as engaged in the story or didn't care as much about that versus when it was him and Emily Blunt doing their thing. So.
But isn't it fun to have like a stuntman have to be in an action like story, and he can do it because he does stunts? Like it's all a bunch of stunts.
So I think the concept is good. I think the execution of this movie on that was not very good. I just found the neo-noir plot kind of uninteresting.
Okay.
So right. Like the idea of like, here's a stuntman who gets caught up in real life stunts and has to perform them. Great. Love that. The stunts were fun. But the actual like mystery itself is like, this is fine. So,
okay.
Yeah. The other thing is I thought the editing was not great in this movie, or maybe the directing at times of the actual stunts. Like this is one that kind of bothered me. There's like the stunt where he jumps a truck over like a flower pot in the city or something, or it's like a row of flowers, right? You know what I'm talking about?
No,
I don't.
Or it's
I don't remember any I don't know. Flower pot jumps. Doesn't sound.
It's
very
not a flower
thrilling.
pot. That's not the way. It's
was
like
it a flower pot?
No, it's not. It was like a garden. It was like a. I don't know.
He jumped the car over the garden?
Yes. You know what I'm talking about? In this
no, I don't remember a garden.
Okay. It was a car jump. It was in the city. It was like during the car chase in the city.
Okay.
And like, he's like, oh, I gotta jump this car now. So he does the jump, and like, it's cool. They're filming the jump, and like you see the car do the jump, and I'm really excited. And then it like cuts into like an interior shot of Ryan Gosling and the dog like reacting to the jump.
Mm-hmm.
And it felt like I was watching a Alvin and Chipmunks movie for a hot minute there. And then it cut back to the stunts. I was like, just show me the stunt. Like, don't cut away into like these interior reaction shots you made. Like, just if this is a stunt movie, then let the stunt be the star. I don't need to see the dog like reacting to the fact that they're jumping a car over a flower barricade or whatever.
I feel like they did that through. I mean, I don't remember this flower pot scene, but I feel like there were other scenes where they definitely let the stunt play out. I mean, when they first roll that car on the beach, they
Yes, that
show
was
it
cool.
from multiple
Yeah.
angles and like restart the stunt. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like they're showing you all the angles they shot for that one stunt. I don't know. I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm just saying you're really wrong about this. Kyle.
Okay. Well, okay. Here's my other nitpick.
Okay. Let's hear it.
There is this whole moment where they're talking about they have to shoot like a big action scene as a wonder,
Mhm.
right? And then it was I think it was the actor who the Tom whatever, not Tom Cruise actor,
Tom Ryder.
Right.
Tom Ryder, thank you, who was like, he's like, I don't want to do a wonder. We don't have time for this. We have to do this in a wonder or something.
Mhm.
And so they go to shoot it with Ryan Gosling, this to the double. And I was like, oh, cool. Like now we're gonna like put a wonder in the middle of this movie. Like, wouldn't it be cool if it was a wonder of them filming the wonder? Like if they made it, that extra layer.
Mhm.
And it was just shot normally. It was like, even though the characters were filming a wonder, it was just tons of cuts back and forth in slow motion. And I thought that was a huge missed opportunity to like, if you're gonna do something cool, like do it cool or show them like this is how we'd film a wonder from the outside.
Mhm. I noticed that too. They
Yeah.
tease a wonder and then they don't really present it that way to
Right.
us, the audience. Which is kind of weird too, because the movie kind of starts with the pretty incredible wonder. Did you notice that? It's not
Is that during the credits?
It's not an action heavy wonder, but the scene where the first time he's on the set,
Walking through set.
and they're telling him he has to redo the drop from the top of the hotel. And
yeah, that was.
he gets the
Yeah.
radio. He starts talking to her through the radio. He walks all the way into the elevator. The camera stays with him all the way up to the top as he gets off, all the way to the point where they release him, to the botched, quote unquote, botched drop that breaks his back. All of that is in one shot presented only because I couldn't tell if they stitch it. They stitched it very well because there's never a moment where like something passes in front and you'd be like, that's where they stitched it type of thing. So I don't know. I don't know if they shot it in one or not, but they definitely presented it that way.
That was a cool moment. Yeah.
But it's not an action heavy wonder. It's just a long walk and talk.
Which some of the best wonders are non-action wonders.
Yeah, for sure.
What do you think, James?
I enjoyed my time with this movie. This feels like the definition of like a summer popcorn movie where like you're going to have fun with it. It's designed to have fun. Did you guys have an intro from the director and Ryan Gosling?
Ryan Gosling? Yes.
Like, I think they kind of set it up as like, we made this for people to have fun watching.
Right.
Type of thing. Don't take it too seriously and you'll have fun with this. Was the vibe I got. That and don't use your cell phone in the theater. And I think that's what I got out of it, was that it was a fun one-time watch. I don't feel like multiple watchings of this would like make it any different, better or worse, probably. I can't imagine popping this in again. I think I probably got everything out of it that I could get out of it the first time. And there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like these movies should exist. It is kind of, I don't know. The budget on it feels insane when you consider how much of it felt practical. I don't know if
What was the
practical
budget?
is. They're saying $125 to $150 million.
Wow.
That's like Marvel movie money.
That's a cheap Marvel movie.
Very
Sure.
cheap Marvel movie.
Right, but in Marvel movies, you have to like replace a costume through the entire movie. There's none
Right.
of that going on here. A lot of it's people running around on fake movie sets, and then occasionally you have action sequences. But yeah, I had fun with it, and if I had complaints, it would maybe be that the moments that were supposed to be funny were just cheesy, really not really clever. I would say they existed on the back of line deliveries by Ryan Gosling and like his charm more than like any kind of cleverness at all. And so maybe if there's room for improvement, they could dig deeper in some of those moments. I had fun with it, but like the movie references that him and Winston Duke would do back and forth were kind of eye roll inducing.
Oh, the quotes where they
Yeah.
were. Yeah. That didn't do much for me.
But in my theater, one row ahead of us, there was a couple, and the female side of the couple was having a really good time watching this movie. Like she loved every song that played and like sang out loud. And I was like, I don't know if I'll ever experience movies like that, but it was fun just being in the theater, having somebody react that way, that
Sure.
close to me. You know what I mean? And it
That's
wasn't
fun.
like in an obnoxious way. It was like in a fun way. I'm sure if this had been a more serious movie and she was doing that, it would have been annoying. But since this movie kind of like at the very beginning tells you, don't take me seriously. I thought that was fun.
I found about half the needle drops to not really work for me. And
Really?
about half of them I thought did. I think the first couple I thought I didn't think worked. And then the last couple I thought did.
Sure. One thing
they
I
kept going back to a Kiss song, right? Wasn't like the main song they kept dropping to, or it was like an orchestral version of it?
Yeah, I don't know. That was another thing that I thought was well done, is they took beats or rhythms from the needle drop that they're about to play and like played it in the lead up to action sequences or moments that they're going to go into full needle drop. So it's like it wasn't jarring when they needle dropped a song because they had already worked it into the score a little bit. And then all of a sudden they would use it to swell into a needle drop. Yeah, I thought that presentation was good.
Would you guys see Metal Storm, the movie within a movie?
No.
In this movie,
it looked
terrible.
It looked really
looked
bad.
awful. Like
on
And
purpose.
I think it was supposed to look really bad, right?
Absolutely.
Like, yeah. I did enjoy like their Dune music though.
Yeah.
I thought that was really clever. Like, probably a late addition to that movie, but it was
music in the credits. I Was Made for Lovin' You by Kiss.
That's the one that they kept playing over and over again. Yeah.
Thunderstruck by AC/DC.
Yep.
All Too Well by Taylor Swift.
That's what we sang in the car.
Worked well.
All I Do Is Win by DJ Khaled.
Yeah.
Any Way You Want It by Journey. I Believe in a Thing Called Love by The Darkness. Genie in a Bottle by Christina Aguilera.
The I Believe in a Thing Called Love did not work for me. It felt shoehorned in. I don't know.
What segment was that? I'm trying to remember.
That might have been the oneer.
Could be.
Yeah.
Looks That Kill by Motley Crue, Against All Odds by Phil Collins, and I Hate Myself for Loving You by Joan Jett and the Blackhearts.
Yeah,
that's a pretty solid soundtrack list of like dad rock, classic rock type of music, and like a Taylor Swift song and a Christina Aguilera song. Like I think they did a good job of mixing it up.
Yeah. Can I say one more thing that I absolutely loved about this movie?
No.
Sure.
And I'm not sure you guys are going to go with me on this one.
Okay.
And
I'm open to a journey though.
I will a little bit have a hard time explaining what I mean. Okay. I know what I'm talking about, but I don't think I'll be able to explain it well.
Okay.
The look of this film, like the actual lighting / film quality, like look of just a normal outdoor conversation, like their close-ups, was 100% my favorite look. As far as like the type of lighting and film color grading and like film quality and the focal length that they used for their close-ups, right? So like a nice close-up like this.
It was
the
real
focal
tight.
length that they used was my absolute favorite focal length. It was gorgeous. Like I'm really sensitive to focal lengths in close-ups. So like movies like The Revenant, I can't enjoy The Revenant strictly because of it's too close.
Is it because like that's always coming in and out of focus?
Well, it's not the fisheye doesn't bother me, right? It's just the close-ups are physically too close because they're using like a, I don't know, like a 14 millimeter lens or something.
Oh yeah, it's a 14 for sure. Yeah.
So it's just the camera is just physically very close to their faces, and I just feel very uncomfortable. This movie, like literally anytime someone's having a conversation, whatever focal length they chose is just perfect for me. I loved it. I noticed it every single time. I'm just like, I'm at my exact focal length preference right now. And like, the look of this film was absolutely ideal for me.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I think it's neat when you can be like this. I like how this was lighted and I like the coloring and like this was just an enjoyable movie to watch. Cause sometimes you watch a movie and like, because of lighting or focus or whatever, or color grading, you're like, oh, this is just such a hard movie to watch. Like it's assaulting to my eyes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. My only real big complaint, I think, is similar to Kyle's, is like just kind of the mystery and the bad guy of the movie is so cliched and drippy, and they just didn't give much meat to it. Probably because it wasn't as interesting as the love story and the stuntman angle. But it felt very undercooked and just like a plot device, as opposed to like the main bad guy character felt like a plot device and not a person that exists.
I get that. The alternative is they really lean into it and have this whole part of the movie that's like very dark and like menacing and like, like awful and underbelly kind of thing. And I'm just so glad they didn't lean into that, like most movies would lean into that kind of dark underbelly of Hollywood type of idea. And that's just not what I was in there for at all.
I kind of wanted Ryan Gosling to go to Tobey Maguire's Party from Babylon. Just go full into it.
Right. That's the alternative.
Yeah.
One thing I really loved was the drug-induced fight scene.
With the unicorns and the sparkles.
Oh yeah.
And all that.
Yeah. The unicorn was fun. Yeah. In the club.
Yeah. That's great.
I'm really glad that I knew that Ryan Gosling was depressed because of his beard. And then when he was ready to re-enter the world, he shaved it and was like ready to go again. So like that film language really helped me get into his headspace.
Yep.
Yeah.
I loved it too. I love it when people do that.
James, when you're ready to come back to us, we're here for you. Just shave that thing off and we can talk.
Any day now. It's only been a decade, but
And Zach, I'm getting a little concerned about your well-being too right now.
Don't worry about it.
You're a little too hairy, Zach.
Yeah. Look how happy I am, guys. This is a happy face.
What? Yeah.
Yeah. Any complaint I have doesn't really matter because it's supposed to be a fun movie, and I think that's what it is.
It's fun. Yeah.
Like even the stuff that you can nitpick, it's like doesn't really matter in the long run because it's still a fun movie.
Yeah.
For sure.
And I think Emily Blunt is a great actress because I don't particularly like how she comes across in like as her real person. Like when I see her when I see her in interviews or like her as Emily Blunt, right? Like in not playing a character, I don't particularly gravitate towards her at all, but I always really like her characters. So I think she's a good actress.
Interesting.
I think she's charming in public also.
Yeah, I think that's popular consensus. I don't find her particularly charming I don't know her in real life, so I feel weird saying in real life. But like what I've seen of her as Emily Blunt, I don't find particularly charming, but I think her characters are incredibly charming.
Yeah. You don't like movie promotional Emily Blunt.
Yeah, that's probably
you don't like accurate. Contrived talk show 7 minutes to tell a story Emily Blunt.
Yeah, that's probably not. Yeah.
You should corner her at the supermarket and then let us know how she is. That's the real Emily Blunt right there.
All right. Fair enough. I find her charming in all situations that I've seen her in.
Great.
And she'll forever be one of the best parts of Live, Die, Repeat. And for that, she gets a pass for life, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Between that and A Quiet Place, she's had a couple bangers that I'm just like, even the Return of Mary Poppins or whatever it was. Like, I can't imagine anybody doing as well as she did in a Mary Poppins sequel that came 50 years after the original.
I can't think of a better casting than her.
Right.
For that movie. Right.
Yeah. If you're gonna make that movie.
Yeah.
I'm not sure anybody could have done it
I
better
know.
than how she did it. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah.
You didn't like it?
4.5-star movie.
I did not like it. No.
Who knew that Zach was such a hater when it comes to Emily Blunt?
I know.
I don't
It's-
think I'm a hater. I certainly don't hate
You're
her.
a hater.
Can you be a hater without hating her? I mean,
Well, the hater in the slang sense, not the literal sense. I don't think you literally hate her, but
I think I just spoke very
you're hating on her.
passionately about how much I love her acting.
You don't like
Doesn't sound like a
Sounds
hater.
like Mary Poppins Returns.
you don't like Mary Poppins Returns.
Is that a hater if I didn't enjoy Mary Poppins Returns?
I mean, you're being a hater on Mary Poppins Returns.
I mean,
yeah.
you're
Give
talking to a guy
us-
that has watched
give
Mary
it-
Poppins within the last 48 hours.
Give us an Emily
original?
Blunt movie where she's like the star that you really like.
Lived I Repeat is a great example.
Okay.
Quiet Place is a great example.
Sure.
Can you think of another
Devil Wears
one?
Prada, I really liked.
She's
That's
a
not the
devil.
star.
She's not the star of Devil.
No, but she's in it.
She's third
Sure.
billed.
Yeah, I mean, she hasn't been the star in a ton of movies.
What is it? What's your definition of a ton?
5-year engagement.
I didn't like that movie.
You don't like the 5-year engagement?
No, I know you
Oh.
do. It's
Oh, I
about
love
people
that
cheating on each other. It's really dark.
They don't cheat on. Well, they do cheat on each other. Yes,
It's super
but-
dark.
I mean, but that there's reconciliation.
Well, after they go through a lot of trauma, I mean, it's really. I don't like that. Yeah,
Okay.
that movie's disturbing to me.
I feel like we have to
Like,
go
it's
deeper.
not
into
about
this.
people cheating on each other. Cheating happens in it, but I say that's not the main crux of the movie. It's about a couple that just is perpetually engaged.
Yeah, that is the premise. You're absolutely right.
Right.
Yeah.
Like it's not like this couple is great and then they cheat on each other. What happens next? It's one of the things that happens upon this
It's not the-
journey.
Okay, it's not the only thing that happens.
No, it's
Just
not the
one
only
of
thing that
them.
happens.
Yeah, just
No.
one of them.
Zach, how many movies that she's been in can you name?
Not many. I mean, I can.
She's
how
been
about
in
this?
a ton, according to you. So,
Did I say that? I said she has not been the lead in a ton.
oh, okay. You're right,
How
you
about
did
you
say.
say a movie and I will say if she's been in it or not.
I only have a
Sophie's
list
Choice.
of movies she's been in front
You
of me.
can't think of any movie that's not right in front of you on a list.
No, I can't.
No, because
Sorry.
he's trying to. Because then, like, he has to think of movies that she could have been in, but she isn't. Because
Right.
you can't be
All right.
like,
That's hard
Well,
to
you
do
know,
off the top of my
Marvel.
head.
Well, if
Right.
James
Yeah.
can't think of a movie that's not right in front of him on a list, then why am I expected to think of movies that are not in front of me on a list?
no, because he was given like, all right, you were given a very specific name an Emily Blunt movie, and you're asking him to be like, well, name a movie that she could have been in, but she isn't, so you can quiz me. That's
I
a
just
much
named
broader
4.
question.
I named 4.
Like, okay, so James, like, what? How about you? What movies
Wait,
based
how
on the
about
list
this?
you see in
She's
front
in
of me?
Adjustment Bureau.
Right.
Oh, that's when I remember like first noticing her in that movie. That's the first time like she clocked as like an individual person. It's like, oh, who is this? And I want to see more of what she's in. Yeah.
Yeah, she was in Adjustment Bureau. That's true.
What
she
movie
was-
has she been the lead in, James?
Salmon fishing the Yemen.
I haven't seen that. Is that good?
It's not good. No.
You've seen that?
Yeah, I've seen that.
Looper?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
I didn't like
Looper.
Looper.
Was she Sunshine Cleaning?
No,
I don't
Amy
think so.
Adams.
No, that's Amy Adams.
I can't believe you haven't mentioned like kind of the one that short of
Jungle
Live Die,
Cruise.
short of Live Die Repeat, this is the movie for me with her. in
Jungle
it.
Cruise.
I mean, she's decent in that. That's not a great movie, regardless
What are
of
we
her
missing?
being in it. But
Okay, just tell us.
oh,
What's the
a
plot?
major one
I'm sure.
for the group of people that are on this call right now. She's in Sicario.
Oh, Sicario. Well,
Right.
she doesn't have the accent, so you kind of forget about it. She really disappears into that role.
She's like one of the best parts of that movie,
oh, it's a
Oh,
great
yeah.
movie. Yeah,
She's
no,
fantastic in it.
for sure.
She's the audience in that movie.
Yeah, I think she's a great actress, like a really great actress.
She's in Oppenheimer. You guys like that movie?
So
Yeah.
like this, she is Zach's anti Julianne Moore. Like Zach likes Julianne Moore movies, but doesn't like actual Julianne Moore in it, right? But in this case, he really likes Emily Blunt, but doesn't like the person. I don't know, or something like that. I'm working on this analogy.
Here's a fun fact about Emily Blunt. She's been working with the American Institute for Stuttering since 2006 to help children overcome stuttering. She's on the
Right.
board of the directors and hosts a gala once a year for speech therapy for children.
That's
I wonder if
fantastic.
she stuttered when she was a kid or something.
Possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah.
You want to hear my
Hmm.
stuttering fun fact I just learned?
I do. That Emily.
You know
Blunt's-
the Scat Man?
Yeah.
I never realized that he was a stutterer. So
Is
the
that a
Scat
joke?
Man, no, absolutely not. The Scat Man was a big,
We're doing stuttering jokes
had
now.
major stuttering issues.
Yeah.
But he found out that he doesn't stutter when he scats because the scatting can kind of like you can stutter while you scat and it sounds good. And so you know the song "I'm the Scat Man"?
Yeah.
The actual lyrics of that song are about stuttering. It's like I'm the Scat Man and I can stutter and it sounds good because I'm stuttering and I'm scatting. Like that. Those are the lyrics of the song. It's all about how he's a stutterer and it's okay. It's really cool.
And then he sold Micro Machines.
No, that's a totally different guy.
I know it's not the same guy. It's like a Mandela effect where you think the Scat Man's a Micro Machine guy, but
Gotcha.
they're not.
Gotcha. Yeah.
James Earl Jones was a famous stutterer before he became James Earl Jones.
It was fun to see the football team owner from what's it called? What's the name of that show where the soccer coach?
Oh, Ted Lasso.
Ted
Hannah
Lasso.
Waddingham in this movie.
Right,
Yes.
Hannah Waddingham.
Yeah.
From Ted Lasso
Right.
being like the producer in this movie. That was fun. I've never seen her on screen other than Ted Lasso, so I was like, oh yeah, she's.
You
awesome.
have.
I have.
You've seen Game of Thrones, correct?
Oh right.
She's the shame priestess.
Sure.
The one that gets
she's
tortured. Yeah.
briefly in Game of Thrones.
What? No, she's not a main
season.
character. Yeah, she's in one season, but
Right.
she's a big part of that season.
Sure, but like, how many people are in Game of Thrones? There's like 1,000 people in Game of Thrones.
I know, but it's like one of those things where you didn't clock her like at all. Like she's just
Sure.
a character in it. They're like, oh, that's her. I didn't realize that was Hannah Waddingham in that movie
Yeah.
or that TV show. So
And Stephanie Hsu from
Everything Everywhere All at Once.
right.
Yep.
Yeah, it's fun to see her in more movies.
Oh, that was her.
Yeah, that's her.
Yeah,
Well, that's fun.
Even though she didn't have a whole lot to do in this one, it's fun to see her in more movies. All right, anything else for The Fall Guy? Let's letterbox it out of 5 stars. What are you guys gonna give The Fall Guy?
I'm gonna give it 4.25 stars.
Okay.
No quarter stars.
This is the
round up
first
or
time
round
ever I've ever given something a quarter star. 4.25 stars.
A heavy 4.
Oh,
All right.
Then I guess I'm gonna have to dock a quarter from mine. So I'm gonna go 3.25, just to even things out.
I am a stickler for the rules, so I will go 3.5
All right.
on The Fall Guy. All right, a 4.25, a 3.25, and a 3.5 for The Fall Guy. Let's move into our top 10 list. This is a list of the top 10 movie stunts. Now, I had a hard time with this list because to me, there's a difference between a stunt and a sequence. And when you research it, it's hard to find like individual stunts
Yeah.
type of thing. So, just this one was a little harder. So
I would love to
rack
know
the
how you
brain.
guys define a stunt because my list is all over the place.
Yeah, I had trouble too about like what's a stunt versus like what's just a well choreographed action scene. So I shied away for the most part from like fight scenes because even though you can consider fight scenes to be stunts and they have stunt like things in them, I try to think more about like is there a human, an actor, or a stunt person who's doing something incredible, or is there some sort of like mechanism that was set up to make something incredible happen on screen.
Mhm.
So I would say most of mine are human based, but some are machine based, if that makes sense. But they're still, to me, they still fall into the umbrella stunts. I didn't like explosions. I did not include, even though an explosion is a stunt. We also just did our top 10 movie explosions not that long ago. So
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's generally what I used as a criteria. How about you, Zach?
I always wanted a human involved.
okay,
Right. So it was just going to be like a train falling off a bridge or something like that.
So you wouldn't use that because there was probably no humans on it?
Well, if in the movie there's no humans on it, you know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't just do
Gotcha.
like an explosion or something like that.
Right.
Right. But you
Like, it's
know
gotta-
when they launch a train off the side of the tracks, no humans were in the train. You know that, right?
Yeah, for sure. Like, if the stunt is a human driving a train off of tracks, I would include that.
Okay.
Even
But if it
though
was
there
like-
wasn't actually a human in the train when they did it.
Yeah.
Probably. Right.
But if it's like someone shoots a rocket at the moon and the moon blows up, I wouldn't include that because
Right. That's more of like an effect. Or
it's an effect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Right. Sure.
I think we all have similar definitions.
I do have things that are more like a scene where tons of like stuntmen were used because it was just filled with stunts
Yes.
that add to the overall effect. I do include things like that.
Yeah. Some of mine are
So do I.
individual moments, and some of mine are stunt sequences, right, involving lots of stunt people and choreography, but something so incredible is happening.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I'm also going to say that I started with a list of 20. I'm going to go through 10 of them, but if you guys want in the Patreon, we
Sure.
could go over the other 10,
We'll go over your.
unless you have any honorable mentions also.
I don't have any honorable mentions. I
Okay.
deleted them all.
Can I start?
Yeah, please.
My number 10 from The General, which is a Buster Keaton movie from the 1927. There's a lot of amazing stunts in there. Buster Keaton is the king of stunts, I would say. But my favorite stunt from that film is, the train is kind of chugging along and there's like a big, long, thick
A rail
board.
tie?
Is it a rail tie?
Or it's a piece
One of those
of
cross beams?
a wood rail tie. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. It's in the track. And so he runs off the train and picks it up, and then the train scoops him up while he's holding it. And then later there's another one across the tracks. And as the train is like headed towards it, like going to derail because of it, he like uses the one he's holding to like knock the other one off the tracks. And it's just like a perfect visual gag and an awesome, like actual real like stunt that he did. And it's perfect. So love that. But that movie's full of them. So The
Yeah.
General.
Sure.
Great choice. My number 10 is from Home Alone, and it's a small one, but I think it's great. And that's when Harry and Marv slip on the micro machines. And
Sure.
they like their feet flap in the air, they go vertical or they go horizontal to the ground, and they just drop straight down.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of stunts in Home Alone, but that one is both classic and just one of like the cleanest, best executed one. That movie is now famous for stuntmen saying like, "Oh, do you have to do a Home Alone now, where you have to do some like crazy fall onto your back?"
Sure. Plus that scene, like it feels painful. You know what I mean?
Yeah, just-
like just watching them do it, you can feel
Like getting
like
hit by
they're
the
in
paint
pain.
cans.
Right.
Feels really
right.
painful.
Yeah, like you just see how they just thud on the ground. Like it literally just two guys who slipped and fell on the ground. And
Right.
Yeah, it's great.
Great choice.
My number 10 is riding the hood in Death Proof. Towards the end, there's like a
Oh, yeah?
long sequence. There's not too many sequences on my list, but this is definitely one of them. And Tarantino has basically said he made Death Proof in order to make this sequence. Essentially, he wanted to do a car chase in like a grindhouse style presentation, and he had a great stunt woman who was on the front of a car, and they had her just basically using two straps to hold on and did all kinds of crazy stuff with her. And it's pretty great. It's definitely a throwback to like 70s movies that did that, but I haven't seen those. So that's why this one makes my number 10.
Nice. My number 9 is the 18-wheeler flipping over in The Dark Knight. It's just such a cool shot, and it
Mhm.
like
Yeah.
it feels so real, So I liked it a lot.
It is real. They did it.
Yeah, they did. They flipped over an 18-wheeler with the guy driving it. Like there's a guy in the front seat.
Fantastic.
My
I also
number
like
9
right before that where the bat motorcycle goes up on the wall and like spins around and then goes back the other way.
Yeah.
I think that's.
I mean, the
cool
most ridiculous part of that whole sequence is that one wire can cause that thing to flip like that, but
shot.
it's fine.
It's Wayne Tech, though.
Right.
Like he has wires that can like shoot with enough power to like anchor into concrete, then hold human weight. So why can't it wrap around a couple times on a?
I mean,
telephone
I'm
pole?
pretty sure if a semi was going like a decent speed, even if you had a cable that would hold, that it would rip the wall out of the building before it flips the truck like that.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Have you ever seen that video of a plane flying into like a concrete wall?
No.
No.
Like, so they do
This
tests of like,
exists?
oh yeah, they do tests of like concrete strength for like really important buildings that you can't let a plane fly into, like a nuclear power plant or something.
Okay.
And so they'll fly like a 747 into this concrete wall and film it in slow motion, and the plane just disappears.
Does it just? It's just like evaporates, right?
It just evaporates. Yeah, it disintegrates.
Or disintegrates. A better word.
Yeah.
It's cool.
Unrelated, but yeah,
Google
definitely
plane test
Googleable.
wall.
That could be in your list of favorite YouTube videos for the end of the year.
F4 Phantom versus concrete wall.
All right, so my number 9, we actually referenced a couple weeks ago when we talked about Three Musketeers Milady, and this is the window jump from the Bourne Ultimatum. This is a chase scene through, I'm not sure which European city it is, but Jason Bourne jumps out the window of one building into the window of the next across the street, and the camera just follows him as he jumps out the window into the next window. And it's a really well shot scene. It's really cool, and it really is two guys jump out a window into the next with a camera attached to one of them.
Fantastic choice.
It's like some of my stunts are the simplest things, but they're executed so well that they're incredible.
Yeah. Fantastic.
Nice. My number 9 is the raining car sequence in the Fate of the Furious from 2017. There's a sequence. There's a lot of action sequences in all the Fast and Furious movies, clearly, but in this one, there's a carport that's several stories up, and in the storyline, they take a remote control of a bunch of cars and make them kind of like shoot out of the sides of the carport. And when you're watching it, it doesn't feel like CG. It just feels like they wouldn't have actually launched cars out of a carport that's like 4 or 5 stories tall. But in reality, they actually did that crap. They launched cars, multiple cars, off of like a carport, a parking garage, 4 or 5 stories up. And there are videos from on the set that, because they did it in a city, and people freaking out filming it with their cell phones. And I think it's cool that at least in some of the Furious movies, they actually do it for real. And that's one of those effects that feels like they could have easily CGI'd that, and instead they did it for real. So I thought that was cool. But I don't think there was a stunt person in those. I think they were still remote control.
No, I doubt there was people.
They just launched them off the side. Yeah. Filmed it.
Has anyone ever seen this? Because if it exists, I would love to watch it. Has anyone filmed a real stunt and then recreated it with CGI and then showed you the two back to back and made you guess which one was real and which one was not?
No, I've never had that situation in my life.
I would love to watch a video like that where they're like, okay, we have a bunch of real stuff and a bunch of fake stuff, and we want to see if you can tell which is which.
Corridor Crew on YouTube have a lot of videos where they recreate things and try to do it on a budget type of thing and come as close as they possibly can. I sometimes they're practical stunts and effects, and sometimes they're literally just duplicating CGI stuff. So I don't know. Wouldn't be the test you're talking about, but that's the only thing I can think of that is big.
It doesn't have to be
enough.
Recreating. It could just be like, some are CGI stunts and some are other practical stunts. Can you tell which is which? That'd be great.
Oh, you're just like put together a reel. Things.
And see if I can tell the difference. Like I think I can.
You probably know too much about movies. And so they'd have to pick movies that you've never heard of. And those probably don't have great stunts.
Or film something real, yeah.
Oh, okay. Sure. Yeah, that would be even more expensive. You want them to go out and film stunts and pay to have somebody CGI some and make a mixtape for you.
Just no one's done it, I guess.
Let's call up David Litch and be like, hey, before you make your next movie.
All right, who we at?
I think you're at number 8, Zach.
My number 8, tell me if this doesn't count or if it counts or not, but it's the hallway scene in Old Boy.
I mean,
I think it's a stunt sequence. It's good.
It's a stunt sequence.
It's
a fight sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I count it.
Yeah. I just found it a very impressive oneer from a unique perspective. It's well executed. It's It thematically works really well. It's a great scene, and it probably took an incredible amount of practice.
Right.
Mhm.
I rewatched Old Boy in the last year, like actual last year, James, not 2019.
Sure.
And it's a good movie. It's top 100 movie. I forgot how dark that. I forgot that movie is
Pretty
as dark
dark.
as I remember it being.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was
Very
like, oh,
dark.
this is a dark movie.
Did you guys see that documentary on Netflix called The Contestant?
No.
Heard about it. I did not see it.
I watched it. It's pretty crazy, but it has Old Boy vibes, and it's about a real story.
Is it worth watching?
I found it very entertaining. So, yes.
I remember hearing about that when it happened.
Really? I had never
yeah.
heard about it.
Totally.
Never heard about it. Kyle?
All right, yeah. My number 8 is from Police Story 3, also known as Super Cop. This is actually not a Jackie Chan stunt, though he does some great ones. This is a Michelle Yeoh stunt. And this is where she jumps a dirt bike onto a moving train.
Mm-hmm.
And it's literally what you think it is. She drives a dirt bike up a hill, like up a ramp that's next to a train, and then jumps onto this train as it's moving. And like all Jackie Chan movies, they show you kind of the making of. And it took her 3 times to get it. And the first 2 times, she just completely biffed. And all they had were cardboard boxes, like set up next to the train. Like not even crash pads, just a bunch of boxes she would crash into. She also didn't know how to drive a motorcycle at the time. So,
Sure.
But Jackie Chan was like such a machismo guy that she wanted to match him. She wanted to show, hey, I can do as much as you can.
Mhm.
So that drove her to nearly kill herself, jump in a motorcycle onto a moving train.
Nice. Good pick. My number 8, the semi-truck flip in The Dark Knight. Which we
Oh,
already
nice.
talked about.
Very cool.
Yeah.
My number 7 is from The Fugitive. This is when he's on a prison bus and it gets hit by a train, and he jumps off the bus right before it gets hit by the train. And I rewatched Fugitive this past year, and it's so good. But that scene is like still holds up, and it's like such an old movie.
Mhm.
It's because they did hit a bus with a train.
Yeah.
And it looks really good. So
My number 7 is from Mission Impossible Fallout. And this is where Tom Cruise is climbing the rope of the payload that's hanging from the helicopter. I love this stunt because it's what you see is what he's doing. He's obviously strapped in for safety purposes, but it's Tom Cruise climbing a rope under a helicopter, trying to get to the top of the runs, slipping, falling back onto the payload. Again, in the movie, it looks like he catches himself. He has a rope on, but he still actually fell down this rope on this payload. And then at one point, you're just watching him. They have like a wide angle camera set up under the plane as he's climbing onto the runs itself. And you're just watching a guy who's super tired trying to climb onto a helicopter. And it's so authentic because it's what he's doing. And it's such a pleasure to watch that stunt.
Nice. I think I need to watch from what came after Ghost Protocol.
Rogue Nation.
I think I need to watch from that on again because I don't think I've ever seen those more than once.
I mean, Rogue Nation has I considered it, and maybe someone has it, where he's just holding on to the outside of a plane.
Sure. Yeah.
But that's another one where it's like, it's so simple. You're like, is that a stunt? Of course it is, but.
Sure.
Yeah.
My number 7 is the dragged under the bus sequence in Speed from 1994. I don't know if you guys remember this, but
Yeah.
before Keanu Reeves' character has ever been on the bus, he gets on like a metal slide, and then they put him on the ground, and like in front of the bus, they lower him, or I don't know, lowering is the right word, but they allow the metal slide that's
They let the
sparking
slack
all
out.
over the place.
Yeah.
They let him slide under the bus, and then he goes too far under the bus. And then he's kind of like sticking out the back, and it's super suspenseful. And clearly they had a stunt guy do it. It's awesome because they have multiple different angles of it. And then eventually they like get him in the right position, and then he can like climb up to in the innards of the underside of the bus. I just can't imagine a stuntman doing that, but somebody did. and it's pretty.
If you guys
cool.
were like a major A-list actor, would you want to do your own stunts, or would you be like, heck no, other people can do that?
I think I would want to do as many as I could. I wonder how much of it is also insurance blocking the A-list from doing it.
I'm sure sometimes they're not contractually allowed to,
Right.
but I would definitely want to if I could.
Yeah. I don't know. It's fun. It looks like fun.
Sure, it's fun. I'm not sure it's responsible if you're an A-list
But
star.
yeah, but I think the best kind of fun can be irresponsible at times. So
Sure.
You could think of
it.
it as selfless, like you don't want to put someone else in that danger.
right.
Right, but let's say you do your own stunt, and it's a stunt that you didn't really have to do your own, and then you die doing it. All the people on that movie don't get paid.
They get paid.
Yeah, they get paid. There's insurance for that too. Like they'll get paid something.
I don't know.
No, they
What-
get all the people that got hired to do a job get paid.
You
The
think?
people that invested don't make their profit.
Don't get their money back.
Yeah.
Well, they get.
But all the
That's
people
also
working-
insured, so they might get some money back.
Yeah, they might get some, but all the people working get paid for what they've done. It's just the people
Sure.
that invested money.
Right. The stunt I really want to do is I want to have like the cables that pull you back from like an explosion onto a crash pad. Like they did this in The Fall Guy, where he kept getting pulled into the wall over and over again. I want to do that stunt. Maybe not into a wall, maybe to a crash pad. But I think it'd be cool just to be like yanked backwards, explosion style.
As
Lightning
somebody
on fire too
who's
while you're at
known
it.
people with back issues, I do not want to do that.
Well, I don't have back. Well, again, I don't want to be slammed into the wall. I want to go.
You don't have
go
back
to a
issues,
crash
but you're
pad.
40, Kyle. You're not 20.
Yeah, but I don't know. Like I do jujitsu. I'm still pretty limber. So for a 40-year-old.
No, you're not doing that to me. Forget that.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying I want to see James do it, though I do want to see James do it. But I personally
No,
want to get yanked back by the ropes.
you'll never see me get yanked back by ropes.
Is I did my number 7. James, have you done your number 7 yet?
Yep.
Okay.
All right, my number 6 from Mission Impossible Ghost Protocol. It's Tom Cruise climbing the Burj Khalifa.
Good. Great. Yep.
Cool sequence.
Great. Yeah.
Absolutely.
My number 6 is from Fast 5. This is more of a sequence, but this is obviously when they're pulling the bank vault. But I choose it because it's a stunt. It's practical. There is an actual. They're pulling something. Sometimes it's a box. Sometimes it's actually like a remote control car that's in the box. And if you watch the making of, it's incredible what they are doing. They're just using physics to wing this vault around and make a great action sequence.
I like that one as well. My number 6, the plane-to-plane line transfer in Cliffhanger.
Yeah.
Pretty amazing to this day that they actually did that. I mean, I've learned that like they do plane-to-plane lines all the time with fuel lines in the military, right? So it's not that crazy. It's just something about a stuntman not rappelling. What do you call that? Zip lining that high up. It's probably no different than normal zip lining, but the idea that you're that high up is pretty insane. My number 6.
Well, okay, so Zach, you can maybe illuminate this with your brother's experience. When they do a plane-to-plane refuel, obviously you have the one plane that's got the hose behind it, and the other plane that refuels, but there's never like a physical coupling. Like they're never actually attached to each other. It's just more of like the planes fly close enough where the nozzle is inserted into the fuel line. But like the planes are never actually physically attached.
Yeah, they're not like solidly attached, right? It's
Right.
something goes into the hole.
Right. Yeah.
But something is sealed enough that they can push fuel through it without an issue.
Well, I think it's air pressure. Like you just have so much air pressure on the outside, this fuel it's not going to go out.
Well, there's no seal that
Right.
that happens. It just goes in deep enough that it's not going to come out again.
Like
Whereas,
like when we fuel a normal car.
Exactly. Yeah. Whereas like in Cliffhanger, those were two planes attached to each other.
Attached enough for a guy to zip line from one to the other.
Yeah, but
I mean,
probably
yeah.
attached enough where if something goes wrong on the first plane, it's going to negatively affect the second plane.
Maybe.
Well, by
or
go
they might have
wrong,
had a
planes don't
relief.
just suddenly like fall out of the sky. You know what I mean?
But I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like if there is a gust, right, that sends the one plane off, like turbulence or whatever, that's going to then affect the other plane because they're connected to each other. Yeah, I know planes don't just follow the sky.
You probably haven't seen this in a while, but it's a zip line, but it's not like a tense zip line. It's like
it's got slack.
It's got slack in it so that they can.
Yeah, but it's still two plane. Like I'm saying, like when planes are flying, they're moving around. Like they're not just like a car on a single spot. So.
I have a couple of thoughts. Okay,
please, yeah.
One, when the Blue Angels
stunt here, I'm not sure why we're arguing.
When the Blue Angels fly, they fly like I think it's like 3 centimeters apart from each other.
Yeah,
for an extended period of time. So you can fly safely even in very close distances, and I feel like.
Those are also like highly machined. Those are different than the planes they're using in Cliffhanger.
Totally. Yeah. And then the second thing I want to say is, let's say 2 planes are attached together by a string, right? And a gust of wind that doesn't affect one affects the other. Let's say. Let's say.
No, but the gust of wind could affect both, and just in different ways.
Totally fine. Sure. I'm saying it's going to affect one and not the other. Okay.
Okay, great.
Let's just say that. The plane can pull the other plane, and like it pulls it. The plane is not going to fall out of the sky. It'll just be pulled through the air. Like it'll still fly. Yeah. You know what I mean? It can be dragged around in the sky to a certain extent and still fly.
To a certain extent, right. Eventually you're going to stall if you drag too much or you lose.
Well, even if you stall, you can come out of the stall. I mean, you can.
If you're attached to another plane, though?
I think they would detach at that point. I think that there were safety detachments.
I'm sure there were safety detachments that they had to. Either way, it's an incredible stunt. Like, I don't think, James, I felt like you were shortchanging this stunt. Like, it's just a guy ziplining. Like, between 2 planes attached to each other.
Sure. No, it's pretty incredible, but I don't think it was as dangerous as it probably looks.
I think he got paid like $1 million to do that. I thought I read.
No, come on.
Okay, I don't know. That could be apocryphal.
Please.
Anyway, I'll
he probably had a parachute on his back, and
he definitely had a parachute on his back.
That's what I mean. Like, not that dangerous for these stunt guys, I imagine.
All right, well, James, I know you don't get pulled by an explosion rope. Would you rather zip line between 2 planes with a parachute?
If given the choice,
I would do that.
And I had to do one of them, I would do the zip line between.
You would do the zip line over this to get pulled. I mean, I would do the zip line too. It's cool, but
absolutely. I think there's actually less risk in that than getting pulled by one of those things.
Well, James, when you pull the chute, it yanks you up in the same way. That
it's the same yank back.
Yeah. Right, but the zip line guy didn't pull a chute. He went from one plane to the other.
That's true.
He had to shoot just in case something went wrong.
Sorry, James. I forgot that you would successfully be able to execute that stunt.
Absolutely.
James is an experienced stunt man. Yeah. Zach, what's your number 5?
My number 5, again, tell me if this is a stunt. It's more like a sequence that heavily relies on a bunch of stuntmen. It's the beach scene in Saving Private Ryan. The storming the beach at the beginning.
I couldn't think of like a moment in there where like somebody was doing a stunt thing. I'm sure there are, clearly, but there wasn't a high point for me, which is why. But I had the same thought that is a great sequence.
Yeah, I'll allow it. My number 5 is the truck flip from Dark Knight.
Oh,
nice.
It's a bingo.
That's a bingo.
Probably our only bingo, I imagine. But we'll see.
We'll see. We're getting into our top 4 here.
Yep. Well, I'm not. This is my number 5. The polecat sequence with the war boys on the poles in Mad Max Fury Road. Another sequence. But they're basically all doing the same stunt. It's just 4 or 5 or 6 of them all swinging back and forth on these poles, and then occasionally dipping low enough to actually get off the pole or drop off the pole and land on a car, which to me is still to this day kind of insane that they did that for real and with so many people on moving vehicles. It's kind of crazy. My number 5.
Do you guys think that Furiosa is impossible to top Fury Road? Like, do we still have to meet our expectations? Being like, Fury Road is incredible and Furiosa will not be there, but can we still enjoy it even though it's not Fury Road?
I heard Anna Taylor-Joy, Anya Taylor-Joy has 30 lines in the Furiosa prequel.
Well, yeah, but how many did Mad Max have in Fury Road? Did what's his name? Tom Hardy.
Sure. He didn't have many. That's why I'm thinking this movie is going to just be solid action like the first one was.
Oh,
There's
I
not going
think
to be
so.
much story in that movie. I think it will eclipse Fury Road? Is that what you're asking?
Right.
The answer is no. I don't think.
Or like,
it'll
is
do that.
Fury Road a unfair barometer to hold it to?
I don't think it's unfair,
Okay.
but it's the exact same filmmaking team, maybe with different actors, but like the stunt team, the director, everybody behind the logistics of the movie is the same. So
yeah,
I think it's fair.
Is it B?
Zach 4.
All right,
Yes.
next.
My number 4, it's the make 'em laugh sequence from Singing in the Rain.
Good choice.
Describe this for people who have only seen Singing in the Rain once and didn't like it.
Sure. It's on set, and they're singing a song called "Make 'Em Laugh" about the importance of like putting on a show, basically, and making entertaining an audience. And so they're singing and dancing and jumping around through all these different like interior movie sets, and there's just a ton of like choreography, and it's really well thought out, and it's funny, and it's fun, and it's lighthearted, and they're jumping all around, and jumping on walls and couches and stuff, and it's great.
Somersaults through small spaces, things like
Exactly.
that. Yeah.
Nice.
Good choice. My number 4 is, the best way to describe it is from the movie Police Story. This is Jackie Chan. It's my second Jackie Chan, Police Story movie. And I guess you would call this the Shantytown car chase that's in the opening of this movie. If you ever seen Police Story, at one point there's like a fight going on in a shantytown, and the bad guys jump into a car and start driving downhill through this shantytown made of like steel and cardboard. And then Jackie Chan hops in a second car and starts chasing them. And you're just watching two cars demolishing this hill full of shacks. And as they're driving through, there's people standing on top of these shacks who are jumping out of the way. And I can't imagine what they're jumping into. Like, they're probably just jumping into more steel and cardboard. It's incredible. And you watch and you're like, oh, okay. So they just literally did what you see on screen. I don't even know if I can call it a stunt, because I don't know what this stunt is. They just did it. But it's pretty incredible.
Oh, I mean, they had to plan out like which roofs they could actually land on. You know what I mean? And like,
I don't know. You watch
I
that.
think they had to plan out that they weren't going to literally smash into a concrete wall somewhere.
Yeah, right. I mean, like, so the shitty town was probably a set built on the hill. Like, I don't think it was an actual existing town that they demolished. It was probably a set.
I don't know.
But
that's quite a lot of set to build to not smash through. I think they just found a path.
They found two paths though. That's the thing though. There's two cars going down.
Yeah. What I'm saying is I think they planned it out, but I do agree that I think they literally tore through buildings. I just don't think they did it blindly like you're insinuating.
it seems blindly. I don't know. Like, you read about the making of these like Hong Kong Jackie Chan movies, and it's really like, all right, you're gonna jump this on there. Okay, and then what? We'll jump it on there. Like,
they did do some insane things, but
yeah.
I think they, in their own way, planned for the best.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people choose the mall pole lights jump sequence from this movie, which is also pretty great, but that Shantytown one just stood out to me.
Yep. My number 4 is the tower climb in Mission Impossible M- Ghost Protocol from 2011.
Nice. Yeah.
Very cool. My number 4, I've already said, but my number 3 is another Buster Keaton stunt. And it's from Steamboat Bill Jr. And it's where the face of the house falls and he's standing in the window and it just falls around him. And it's such a simple stunt. He just literally has to stand there. But there's like legitimate risks involved with this stunt. Like, it's clear to see that this could have ended horribly if not executed well. And it's so iconic because of how simple and just a great visual it is. And it's perfectly executed and it's awesome.
Yeah, I've seen that one like in montages and stuff. And I looked it up while I was making this list just because I wasn't sure I had seen the full thing. And it's kind of insane how casually he allows that thing to fall around him. Like, he has either he has total faith or just, I don't know.
The story is that he was very depressed on that day of filming because of personal things.
And so he didn't care if he died? Is that what you're
right,
saying?
so that's what the casualness of it, because he's like, whatever, just drop this thing on me. I don't know if that's true or not, but that's the story.
That seems like folklore or whatever you call it.
But if it's good, why not just run with it?
Sure. I mean, I'd rather give him the benefit of the doubt from an acting perspective and not pretend like he's suicidal and that he planned the thing, knew that it would be better if he acted completely casual about it, and then executed it like a professional. But no, he was depressed and just happened to not get hit by a building. Okay.
Well, I mean, they still not happened to not get hit. They still planned it out. Now,
I'm just saying, even a depressed person would be scared if you're about to drop a building on them. I think
Zach,
it was a choice an acting choice to be laissez-faire about it.
In that sequence, is there a hurricane that's happening? And that's why the house falls on him?
Yeah.
Didn't he do that stunt also earlier at a smaller scale in 1 week? The short, like where he's building a house?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, that's like he did it twice, which is crazy. So yeah. Weird Al also does that in Amish Paradise music video. They're raising a barn and they drop it on him.
Okay.
Yeah. It's all over the place.
Sure.
My number 3 is also Mad Max Fury Road. I considered the polecats, but I went with the dirt bike motorcycle jumps.
In that same sequence, kind of.
Yeah, exactly.
Or are you talking about in the canyon?
In the canyon.
Okay.
Yes.
In the canyon.
Yeah. So the truck is driving through a canyon, and there's a gang of dirt bikers who are attacking the truck, and they're doing jumps like across the canyon over the truck, dropping fire bombs on it. There's just like motorcycles flying left and right, and it's so cool to watch it because again, it's just really good motorcycle drivers doing stunts and also being able to like drop a firebomb. I don't know if that was a pyrotechnic or if they actually were dropping something, but it looks like they're dropping something from their hands. So it's pretty cool.
Nice.
Very nice.
Kyle already mentioned it, though it wasn't one of his picks. We're talking about sliding down the pole through the electric wires in Police Story from 1985.
Sorry, James.
That's fine. It's all good. I love that sequence. Whenever I think of Police Story, I think of that. Probably helps that they replay it like 4 times in the movie.
Yep.
And then in the credits show him actually doing it and how painful it was because he's actually sliding through like light bulbs and stuff like that as he's sliding down. Yeah, just an insane stunt for somebody to do. And he did it and lived through it.
Okay, so James, you were defending these the Jackie Chan movies as being like, like they think these things through and they try and plan it as safe as they can.
Sure.
Jackie Chan got severely burned on that stunt.
Right.
Because the lights were supposed to be plugged into like a low voltage power generator.
Oh, wow.
And then someone just plugged into like a wall in the mall. So those lights had 120 volts in them instead of like the 12 that he was expecting. So yes, they may. I just think the safety checks were not quite the same as we expect.
Sure. I mean, they also wouldn't let somebody do that without a wire nowadays.
Right. Yeah, he did no wire.
Right.
Yep.
He literally just jumped from a railing to a pole and then slid down it like 4 stories in the middle of a mall.
And then landed on like...
In the U.S., would have never happened.
No.
For sure.
No.
Much less sliding through fully electrified lights. But yeah. I just mean like, that criticism...
It's not a criticism.
You levied is like
commentary.
that they're like cowboys and like they don't have safety precautions. I think they do. Are they milder? Certainly. When Jackie Chan says, I'm doing it, I don't care what you say, I think that's what happens.
Yeah.
Is he's going to do it no matter what anybody says. But also Jackie Chan hurts himself back in the day, hurt himself a lot because he's insane.
Yeah. I'm not complaining because I love watching Jackie Chan movies and the fact that they are so dangerous makes them so enjoyable.
The lore of it is part of the fun.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your number 2, Zach?
My number 2, and it's surprised that this franchise has not been mentioned yet because there are so many great stunts across the franchise. Okay. But it is the tank fight from Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade.
Ooh, you just wait, Zach.
Oh, I'm excited. This is it's horses versus tanks, man versus tank, man versus treadmill of a tank. It's so good. And then the tank drives off a cliff and he grabs onto a vine, and it's so perfectly executed. There's so many moments that are like great moments where he's like hanging from the gun, and it's like, scraping against the cliff wall and all that kind of stuff. It's we're teetering against being crushed by the tank, and it's just so good. I love that from floor to ceiling, and yeah, it's a great stunt sequence.
I love when they fall on the top of the treads of the tank, and it's like a treadmill.
Yeah, exactly.
And then, it's also like Sean Connery's like being taken away from them, and they have to go rescue him. Yeah, it's great. Yeah. Well, Zach, my number 2 is also from Indiana Jones movie, but it's Raiders of the Lost Ark. Nice. And this is the under the truck sequence is the best way to call it. This is when Indiana Jones he's on one of like the Nazi cargo trucks, and then he has to crawl underneath it, and he is like being dragged under the truck, sort of like in Speed, hand over hand, climbing behind it, and eventually gets dragged behind the truck.
Yeah.
And again, it's a stunt guy who is under a truck, slowly moving his way to the back of it.
Clearly being dragged.
Right. And then Harrison Ford actually gets dragged a little bit too. He is in there. And this one is also if I'm rooting anyone, I apologize. It's an homage to Stagecoach, which did the stunt originally, where there was a stuntman who was being dragged behind a stagecoach and like did the jump where he falls between the horses and lets the stagecoach go over him. That's just great. So
I will say another stunt I love from that movie is where Indiana Jones and his father are in a motorcycle and a sidecar, and they're being chased by people in motorcycles.
Yes.
And he grabs a flagpole and sticks it through the spokes of the motorcycle.
Right.
And he like flips, and it's such a great stunt.
Did you see the Mythbusters on how they did that?
No.
So again, this is great editing, because the stunt people in the Indiana Jones motorcycle, they're moving, but then the motorcycle that gets flipped is stationary, and like when they cross the plane and do the shove, then a hydraulic explosion goes off and flips it over.
Oh.
But it's edited in a way where like you don't know that it's a stationary motorcycle being flipped. And I think that's just like, that's Spielberg's great filmmaking right there, where he can take all these elements and you like your eye just like, oh yeah, of course that motorcycle flipped over while it's moving.
You believe it.
You were exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah. But that's a great filmmaker right there. That's a great stunt too. Yeah.
My number 2, another Indiana Jones stunt. Somehow we all put it at number 2 for some reason.
I love how I said I was shocked that no one included it, and then we all did at the same slot.
Right. Yep.
I had a different stunt. This is the rolling boulder chase in Raiders of the Lost Ark.
Yeah.
In the first movie. I'm not sure how dangerous this was, because it's probably just a big old, styrofoam ball type of thing. But man, when I was a kid, it definitely caught my imagination, and I never second guessed it until I was a little older. And then I was like, oh, that makes sense. They didn't really put a guy in danger of being squashed by a boulder, but still required some running and some jumping in a crevice, and good stuff. Good stunt. My number 2.
Just cool. As a quick honorable mention, I'm not going to mention later. Temple of Doom, the rope bridge fight.
That's
when the rope bridge like collapses. That's another cool one right there.
There's like 3 guys holding onto the bridge while others fall off of it. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, I rewatched Temple of Doom recently, and it's dark. It's still kind of fun though. Like it's still an Indiana Jones movie.
Temple of Doom is the best Indiana Jones movie.
I don't know. It's not the best, but it's not as bad as I remember it being, if I put it that way. Like I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought.
2, 1, 3, like most trilogies from the 80s.
All right, Zach, number 1. Favorite stunt.
My number 1, I guarantee it's not on your lists, although by all accounts it should be, because I guarantee, but it is by all accounts the greatest stunt in movie history.
Okay.
It is from The Man from Snowy River, and it's where he rides the horse down the really steep hill.
You're right.
I know the scene you're talking about. Elaborate though, because horse stunts are great. So please elaborate.
Everyone knows I'm a horse movie guy.
How dare you? You
What?
are not.
Are you kidding me? I'm anxious to hear your number one stunt.
You won't even watch like the best horse movies of the last 10 years, so you can't be a horse
I would
guy
love
without
to watch those
having
movies,
seen
James.
those.
I think you're wrong. I can't wait to watch those movies.
No.
Yeah. So in this movie, are you guys aware of the scene?
Yeah, I've seen clips of the scene. Never seen the
You
whole
mean the
movie, but I
scene
know
where the
scene.
guy goes down a steep hill on a horse?
Yes.
But it's like a sandy hill, right? It's like a sandy rocky hill.
I mean, it's like it's rocky. It's very
Right.
rocky.
It sounds like
yes.
horse abuse is what it sounds like.
Well,
No, I think the horse enjoyed it.
no, James, don't look too much into those horse stunts from like the 30s and 40s because you
Right.
won't be happy.
All
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
No, it's easily like a 45-degree angle. It's an incredibly steep hill, and he's riding it at like full gallop, and it's the most incredible stunt ever. It's just it seems so impossible and dangerous and
What's
epic.
the name of this movie?
The Man from Snowy River. James, I'm shocked you haven't seen this movie because it's so good.
Snowy River horse ride scene,
Yeah,
according to YouTube. All right.
it's incredible. You check it out. It's awesome.
All right.
Best stunt ever in movie history.
Whose
Who's going to
turn
sit
is
here while I watch James watch a YouTube video?
it? No. You're not.
Kyle's gonna go. Kyle's gonna go.
Kyle.
My number one is incredible in its simplicity, just like Zach's, and I think that's what makes it a great stunt. And this is when the helicopter flies under the underpass in Terminator 2 Judgment Day. If to set the scene up, this is after the big shootout at whatever the company's called. I'm gonna say Initech, but that's not it.
No.
Anyway, the T-1000 has hijacked a helicopter, and he is chasing Terminator, Sarah Connor, John Connor, who are in a SWAT vehicle,
Mhm.
in the helicopter. He's shooting at them, and they're going down the highway. And at one point, the SWAT vehicle goes under an underpass, and then the helicopter follows them under the underpass, and that's all it is. But this stunt was so dangerous that James Cameron had to get like the best guy in the business. This guy is my stunt hero. His name is Chuck Tamburo. He's a helicopter pilot. All your favorite helicopter stunts from like the 80s and 90s and even 2000s, he did them. He was the guy. He was a pilot on Apocalypse Now. He just look up his IMDb and you're like, oh, he did all these great helicopter stunts. Anyway, so James Cameron went to Chuck Tamburo and said, all right, for this sequence, we need to fly this helicopter under the underpass. And Chuck Tamburo was like, okay, let's do that. The camera crew refused to film it because they were like, we don't want to be like anywhere near this helicopter in such a small space. So Cameron had to film it himself. And then they had to do it again because there's a shot from the front of the helicopter and a shot from the rear of the helicopter. So twice he flew it. There's also in that sequence another one where it seems like he's going to fly under the underpass, and then he quickly decides to get out of it, goes over the underpass, and you think he's just going to clip it and just take out the whole helicopter. So
Mhm.
I love helicopter stunts. I want to do a list of all my favorite Chuck Tamburo scenes someday, which I almost did for this podcast. But just that's the simplicity of that one. I actually let Galen watch that sequence with me because he's been asking to watch Terminator 2 forever. I'm like, you're too young, but I let him watch that 5-minute sequence, and
Sure.
maybe the greatest day of his life so far.
All right. I mean, oddly enough, my number one is also a stunt from Terminator 2 Judgment Day, but
Oh, nice.
not that stunt. Although that one's great. There was a lot
Yeah.
to pick from that movie. That was one criteria of my list, is I tried not to pick two stunts from the same movie.
Right. Yeah. Or even the same franchise. I could have gone a ton of Mission Impossible. But
Absolutely. I did.
I
the
guess
same
Police
thing.
Story I cheated on. My bad.
It's all good. No, my favorite stunt moment from Terminator 2 Judgment Day is the truck jump into the LA River
That.
scene, or the storm drain scene that leads into the LA River, is
Right.
pretty insane that they actually did that. And it looks very cool on screen as well. It's always a risk jumping a car that literally the wheels are just gonna fall off of it, and then you multiply that by jumping an 18-wheeler, or I guess not 18. How many wheels? 6 wheels? Is that how many?
It was a semi cab.
Sure.
Right.
Yeah, just insane, and it's something I've always kind of been obsessed with, the fact that they actually did that. I've seen multiple making ofs of Terminator 2. They always talk about that stunt and what it took to actually drop a truck like that. And super impressive. My number one.
Okay, so James, back on the Fall Guy, when I was talking about my issue with the car jumping over the flower planter, that was the word I was going, not a flower pot, flower planter.
Sure.
Right? I thought of that stunt in Terminator 2, where they jump a truck, all right, off the, and at no point, they don't like cut to like John Connor's face going like, oh my goodness. Like they just let the stunt stand for what it was.
Sure.
And it bothered me in the Fall Guy that we had to cut to reaction shots during stunts. And just not if you're making a stunt movie, then let the stunt speak for itself.
But they're making a romantic comedy.
Right.
Yeah, but at this
stunts in it.
But at this point, this wasn't like the romantic part of the movie. This was a car chase part of the movie, right?
Right.
So I don't need the dog's reaction to this jump, right? Just like we don't get John Connor's reaction to him being on the back of a motorcycle.
Right. I mean, you do get his reaction right after the truck hits the ground.
Right after, but
Just
not
in the
during.
middle.
Exactly. That was my issue. Like let the stunt stand for itself and then give us the reactions, or like, I can't believe we did that, or whatever.
Yeah. I have the feeling there's more CGI in the Fall Guy than the reel at the end leads on.
For sure. Yes.
For sure. Yeah. Whereas Terminator 2 certainly has CGI in it, but I think not in the stunt moments, more just the main guy, main Terminator, the melting Terminator,
the T-1000,
liquid Terminator. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. That was our list of our top 10 movie stunts. If we missed anything, if there's something obscure, if there's an obscure stunt that you think we don't know about that we should have considered, let us know. Hey guys at Cinereelists.com. Always love stunts and talking stunts. Don't forget, there's a video version of this podcast on YouTube. Go check it out there. Support us on Patreon. Leave us an Apple Podcast review or send us a listener email to heyguys at Cinereelists.com. That email address is in the description of this podcast. You can also follow us on social media on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, or TikTok at Cinereelists, or you can follow me on my personal Twitter, Letterboxd, or Blue Sky account at YoJRB.
You can follow me on Twitter or Letterboxd at Shaban.
You can find me on Letterboxd at Peter SKB.
Next week, we will be discussing the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movie, which I guess is a reboot of the franchise.
It's a reboot of the reboot.
It's a re-sequel.
Oh, it's not the fourth in the new ones.
No, it's the fourth. But I think it's like they did the trilogy, and then they wasn't sure there's gonna be more of it, and now they're doing.
It's definitely the same. I've already seen it. It's definitely the same universe, same timeline as the 3 that came out in the 2010s. But they replaced all the actors and all the production crew.
But nothing's been. No, it's a sequel.
It's a sequel. But it's not. It's
if they don't tell the same story over, it's not a reboot.
But it's not Caesar though, right? Like we're no longer at the Caesar story. We've moved on from the Andy Serkis character, correct?
The Andy Serkis character is not. I don't want to spoil anything.
He's not the main character of the movie.
He's definitely not the main character.
That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah.
Nobody from the original movies are a main character in this movie.
So it's a sequel.
It's a sequel. Yeah.
Sure.
Right.
It's a sequel that has very, very, very little to do with the original, other than the idea that apes are on Earth and rule the Earth.
But it's the same timeline, the same universe,
same timeline,
same history.
Same universe. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a sequel. I agree, but it's also a reboot. It's a brand new story.
That's not a reboot. A reboot is starting over the franchise.
It's starting over, but including the history of the original.
Can we call this a jump start to the franchise, where they did the 3, it kind of died out, and now we're jumping and starting it again.
That's why I think re-sequel is a good word for it. It's a reboot of the franchise that also happens to be a sequel.
No, it's a sequel. It takes place after the events of the previous movie.
It's definitely a sequel, but it's also a reboot of the series.
What is a reboot to you?
They had ended the series, and now they're getting brand new characters that happen to exist in the same timeline as the first 3 movies. But other than that, there's no extending of the original story.
Okay, I have a
And
question.
they changed the creative team. They changed all the actors.
Is Ghostbusters Afterlife a reboot? And this is for both of you.
No.
Ghostbusters Afterlife is a reboot sequel.
Yeah, see, so Zach,
100%.
I see Ghostbusters Afterlife as a reboot. It's a sequel too, because it takes place in the same.
To be fair, I haven't seen it, so
Okay.
maybe I can't judge.
But it takes place in the same timeline. But the idea is like this franchise has petered out or died out or is over, and now we are rebooting the franchise.
So I understand there's this verb out there, like
Yeah.
rebooting something, like you turn it back on, right?
Yes, yeah.
So like I guess in my head, I've always separated out what reboot means as far as movies,
Mhm.
and then the word in everyday usage of like restarting something.
Okay,
Because
so
for
then-
me, a reboot means you retell a story you've already told before and pretend like the other movies didn't happen. Like there has to be and you pretend the movies didn't happen. Yeah, as if you're starting from scratch. That's
Okay.
what those have always meant to me.
So then what would you consider like either Phantom Menace or Force Awakens? Maybe Force Awakens is a better example. Like Force Awakens, Last Jedi, and the final trilogy. Is that a reboot?
No, I
Or-
wouldn't consider that a reboot. I would consider those sequels
Okay.
in the sense that, they are number 7, 8, and 9.
Yeah.
You know, in the same way, James, you wouldn't call the prequels, you wouldn't call them reboot prequels, right?
You're right.
They're just prequels, even though they don't have any of the same characters in it. Well, I guess they do, but none of the same
They have
actors.
R2D2. They have Anakin. Yeah.
Yeah, they have characters
Kenny
that
Baker.
carry
he's-
over.
Yeah,
from
he knows
Sure.
he's there.
those
Anthony
movies.
Daniels, he's there.
Yeah, I know. I understand that.
Frank
But
Oz, he's there.
You're right.
George
I wouldn't
Lucas, he's there.
call any of those reboots, but also it's a series that like always had 9 parts to a story. So, whereas this doesn't. It's just they could have easily never revisited this world again, or they could have revisited this world and not included the lore from the movies from the 2010s. But they do, which is why it's both a reboot and a sequel.
I'm going to side with Zach on this, that reboot's a bit of a strong word. Like I would call Rise of the Planet of the Apes in 2011. That's a reboot of the Planet of the Apes
Totally agree.
franchise. Right?
100% agree.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that this reboots trilogy kind of was over, and now like, okay, let's maybe a restart or a jump start would be a better word for it. A fresh injection of new
A
talent.
revisit.
Can I make a
revisit,
suggestion?
Sure. Yes, please.
We watch the film and then talk about it next week, and you guys can tell me exactly how you feel about it, whether it's a reboot or a
Sure.
sequel or both.
To me, I just assumed it was number 4 of the series.
It
didn't
is
realize-
that, but also they completely changed all the characters. There are no characters from the original series, from the
Because it's a
2010
time jump,
series,
right?
in this movie.
Yeah.
There are references to things that happened in those movies, but those references don't dictate what's happening in this movie.
Is Jurassic World a reboot in your mind?
Jurassic World.
Yes, I would say it's a reboot, but it's a reboot of a franchise. It's not a reboot of a story because it is a connected story. But
Jurassic World is very similar in nature to Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. It's a sequel, but it's a reboot at the same time. You're restarting the story with brand new characters. Now,
Well, you're not
they eventually
restarting the
chickened
story.
out and brought a bunch of old characters in, but that first Jurassic World movie is a reboot.
I think you're telling a new story.
That's also a sequel.
You're right. It's maybe connected to the original stories, but this is a new story that we're telling. Yeah.
Right. Yep. All right. Bottom line is next week we're doing Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. So if
No,
you're into that,
not until we decide if it's a reboot or not. I will not agree to this.
if you're into that and you haven't seen it yet, definitely check it out before next week because that's what we're talking. We'll see you guys there. Until then, keep it Cinereal.
You're still here? It's over. Go home. Go.